One of the arguments I see most often from people who are pro-choice is that by banning abortion, you're going to have more kids who end up in foster care, more kids born into poverty, and more disabled children being born. This may sound like a compassionate argument, but if you follow it through to its natural end, you're essentially saying that poor children, disabled people, people growing up in foster care, or those who are adopted are optional. Like it would have been understandable if you never got to exist. And I feel like this is so normalized that when I was pregnant with my first, um, termination was mentioned to me twice because my daughter was showing like there was tests on that said that she might have Down syndrome, and the language that was used to me when talking about this was some people find that having a Down syndrome child doesn't fit their lifestyle, so they choose termination. Like, forgive my language, but this is fucked. It's like they don't fit my lifestyle. Like, you think they were talking about like a purse that doesn't have enough pockets or something. Like, I can't fit my water bottle in this purse. It doesn't fit my lifestyle. And what gets me the most about this is that like it's usually people on the left who are arguing um, for the death of children in the womb because they might have hard circumstances. Um, and like you're telling like there's supposed to be those on the side of the oppressed, but you're openly telling disabled people and people who grow up in harder circumstances that you could exist, you could not exist, it would have been perfectly fine, for you to not exist. Like, you're essentially worth less than someone born into what, a wealthy family. But of course, it's the compassionate thing to do, right? I don't really know how we got here. It seems to be that hardship and suffering trumps everything else. It's the ultimate decision maker. That comfort is primary, and that if there's going to be challenges, if there's going to be hardships, whether you see that with abortion or medical assistance in dying, that suffering is now the decider of whether or not life has value. And I think not like we're at a critical point. Um, I'm trying to articulate how dangerous this is and how I'm trying to figure out how to express that perceived suffering cannot be the decider. This isn't to say that I don't understand why people choose abortion or why people would even choose to end their lives. But if we make pain the decider, we stop believing that people have intrinsic worth, that life is valuable, because pain is subjective, and we've already seen people say there's no slippery slope, but we've already seen the slippery slope in action. We went from abortion to killing those with illnesses, and now you have people advocating for ending the lives of those with mental illness. Um, and then you have cases where people who just, were waiting a long time for surgery are being offered, made, or they end up choosing um, death because it seems like the best option. Um, if those who can't afford their rent, and it's not it's not hard to see why people, if the more we normalize this, the more people are going to say, okay, I'm burdening my family. I'm with my disabilities. I'm burdening my family because I need their help, or my friends or whoever. Um and like like, will this not eventually turn into an expectation? Like, oh, you're using up resources, I don't know. I don't know where this ends, and I don't really know how we got here. How quickly we went from believing that life is a gift and sacred, and you know, our ancestors who suffered through so much more materially before we ever had the comforts that we have now. That's not to diminish what people are experiencing now, but there's just like, it's just baffling to me. Like, I feel like, like, am I crazy? Like, we used to condemn eugenicists, and now it's like, if your child is going to potentially cause you to struggle or more inconveniences than, a child without Down syndrome would, it's perfectly reasonable. I don't know. I like, like, am I crazy? I don't know where this ends, but I do think that we desperately need to return to believing that human beings have value, and we are moving further and further away from that. Because if something as simple as suffering or pain, which is a huge part of every single person's life, every single person is going to suffer, everyone's going to experience hardship and pain in this life. And that is a part of life. And I feel like it might be like, okay, well, who are you to say that? Because you're not terminally ill and you're not suffering physical pain. But you're telling, at the same time, we're telling those people that they are not worth anything. You're telling them that their lives have no meaning. And that's not true. You're telling people that their worth is determined by what they can contribute, and that their lives are not intrinsically valuable. And that's fucked.